Hey everyone, so back with the Fiesta today. So we're going to be doing a nice little quick and easy job hopefully. So let's crack on and see what we'll do. Okay, so we are doing camber adjustment shims on the back. So the rear wheel's here. So we've already started sort of getting to this point. There's no point sort of showing you jacking up and getting the wheel off. It's pretty standard, we've done it quite a few times. But these are nice. I think they're laser cut or water jet cut. But these match up exactly to the back of the hub on those wheels. So when you get the hub off, these will basically slot in place, the bolts will come through as standard, and what it does, it just pushes that bottom of that wheel out a little bit and kinks the top in a little bit. Effectively just giving better grip. So when you're sort of going along, especially on track, if your wheels are vertical, sorry, and you go into a corner, they're going to lean and you get less basically tyre on the road. The inner edge is going to lift up off the track. If they're slightly sort of tilted inwards as you go round, effectively they straighten up instead. So, you're basically maintaining more grip on the track when you go around corners. So that's the kind of idea behind doing this. You just maintain more tread on the road as you go around a corner. So we're going to go ahead and do this. We're hoping to not have to remove all the brakes. I did see a few videos on this where people were taking the brakes apart. I'm hoping we're not going to have to do that. We're going to try and remove the ABS sensor in situ where it is, get that out of the way initially, out of the way first, and then just remove the hub and just get, I've got my chap helping me today, just get him to hold the hub out of the way whilst we put the new bolts and the plates in and slide the hub back on again. So quite a nice, easy, sort of clean install if we can get away with doing it that way. So that's enough talking, let's go ahead and get them on. Okay, yeah, so these were sent out by Satchell Engineering for the channel. So a huge appreciation out to Satchell Engineering for getting this sorted for me. Like I say, I really like this design over, say a lot of the other ones you see online, to be honest. Like you say, quite a few of them seem to have these like cut out bits and there's like discs that you just cut I couldn't be bothered to mess around with that. So yeah, huge thank you to Satchell Engineering. I'll leave a link to these and just their site in general. They do quite a few bits and pieces, so I'll leave a link to them in the description of this video. I might see if I can link it up in the top if I've learned how to do that by now. If not, like I say, it will be in the description. So a huge thank you to them for getting these out, because like you say, it's all these bits that add together to the Fiesta and just sort of really start pulling things together. I did notice when on track, it was just ever so slightly loose on the back end. I'm hoping that, say, adjusting that camber on the rear is really going to sort of start tightening everything up. So yeah, let's crack on and see what we can get done. Okay, so when looking at the disc, obviously I've got the wheel off here, etc. This is your standard setup. Obviously I've got the slightly bigger discs, so I don't have the dust shield on the back. Most people remove those, in fairness, from what I can tell. So when you come up over the top here, you've got this flat plate here, and you can see the top of one of the bolts here, top of one of the other ones there. And if I go to the back actually underneath, I'll show you what's going on with that wire. Okay, so I apologise, the spring does get in the way a little bit. So you can see the 4 bolts on the back of the hub. So this is where we were looking before. So you have got, one here, and then the 2 down the bottom, one here and one there. And then just in through there is our ABS sensor. So that's the tiny little bolt there with a little sensor above it. So the plan is to remove that first, pull the ABS sensor through and out. That's going to get that out of the way for us, so we're not having to worry about that catching on anything. We're then going to undo those 4 bolts, pull the hub away, slide the 4 new bolts in, because you will need longer bolts. With putting those plates in, it's going to space it out a little bit, so you're going to need longer bolts. I've gone with M10 by 40, so these are M10s. I think the standard's M10 by 22, and we're going to be going to M10 by 40. So once we've got those 4 undone, we can slide the new bolts in, put the plates on, and then push the hub straight back over the top again without having to remove or dismantle the brakes, etc. So let's go ahead and try and get, see if I can get my finger in there, that bolt out there, focus, which is our little M6 bolt for our ABS. So we're just going to remove these 4 bolts now, and we can go in through here with the gun. It just about fits through the spring. We took the handbrake off, moved this cable up, and that gave access to this top one. The other 3 we can access pretty easily. So yeah, we're going to get those out now. that all of them?
Yep.
Okay, so we put the jack underneath the disc just to stop it falling off, because obviously we don't want to start putting the strain on any of these or any of the ABS. But that is it now undone away from there, so that is completely loose off of there, as you can see. And like I say, we've just got the disc balanced on there just to stop it from falling to the floor. Okay, so here are all the plates for one side. This is what we've got here. So these first three, to my understanding, are spacer shims, so they're the same top and bottom. So they have 3 varying degrees, so when you stack them, they end up lining up, and that helps space the shim, space out the wheel a bit more. So you've got the hole goes all the way through the middle that lines up with the other 2, and that helps space out the wheel a little bit there. They obviously have an arrow that points towards the front, so obviously make sure you line them up as they should be, and then point them in the direction of whichever wheel they're going on, whichever side. And then these are our degree shims, and again they have 1 notch, 2 notch, 3 notch, 4 notch. When you look at 1, there is a tiny amount of difference, but not a lot. And as you go up to 4, there's quite a bit. And the idea is, again, I believe here we're going to stack them up, and then that gives you the 1 degree. So if I line it up there, you can see now that when as they stack, you get more increasing amounts of camber. So we're going to be going with maximal camber. So we're going to have all 4 plates of these, and obviously for spacing we're going to have these 3 as well. So effectively these 3 will go on top of those, and then that once all lined up with the arrows pointing in the right direction, because that's now pointing towards the front of the car, as you can see there, that is what's going to go on this bit here, and we're going to use the longer bolts to come through and do it that way. Now the ABS sensor, the bolt is a bit knackered on mine. Now I'll probably tackle that a little bit later on, in a later video maybe, just drill those out, re-tap it and put a new bolt in. That's going to be the easiest way. As I'm not going to play around with that today, I don't want to mess up my ABS sensor whilst I'm out here. We are just going to cut a slight line through this side of each of the shims. We're going to sort of bolt them, or clamp them together in the vise, shave off just one edge here, and then we can slide them past the ABS sensor and bolt them on. We're only going to take a few mil off, like, you know, a cut guide through this wall here. I don't think it's going to affect the strength of them in any way, because they're going to be compressed anyway, etc., down onto here. But yeah, unfortunately with that ABS sensor on this side, it is completely mangled in there. I don't quite know what that was done up with, but it doesn't look like rust has fallen apart. So we're going to get these on, and then that's that side done, and we're going to move to the other side. We might have a bit more luck with the ABS sensor on the other side. I might not have to do this, but you know, I thought I'd just show everyone, because it's fair to show what we're doing. But now we've got this knuckle away, we can lift this further away. We're just resting it here with the jack and then resting it on here. But yeah, let's get the hole cut and do the next bit. Okay, so you see we just cut a few mil off the discs there. That got them on past the cable. A bit hard doing this one-handed, but they're all in order. So effectively they can now come up and sit on here as we want them to. We can then push the bolts through and start getting them in properly. I think that's just a bit more, it's just a bit neater and easier than bugging around with that ABS sensor and risking ABS. But these can all line up there now, get the bolts through. As I got those new 40mm bolts. I don't think they're going to get in the way of anything here, because you've only got this, which doesn't sit proud of these bolts here. So I think if they do up through, even if they come through this far, they're not going to hit this. But we can always shave the end off if necessary. But they're nice high tensile 12.9s or 12, so they should be more than enough for what this needs. And that's just going to sit up in there. So let's go ahead and get that done. Okay, so we've got those 4 bolts in there now, and as you can see they're going to go past through here. We've done up one on the bottom here, nowhere near touching anything, but we can always trim it down if necessary, but I really don't think it is. But we're going to start doing those other 3 up now. Like I say, it's just like you say, once you have the bolts through those plates, it's pretty easy with just lining this up and getting them in there. So these are easier to do up as well, because they've got the sort of Torx bits in the middle. It's easier to get it in there than it is with the normal sockets, to be honest with you. Just have to be a bit careful with this ABS line, but it just saved bugging around with this and getting anything wrong with that. So we can always have a bit of difference on the other side, but yeah, once we've done those 4 bolts up, we are done, really. So let's crack on and get those done. Okay, so we ended up just cutting a few of those down. One at the bottom was fine, so we ended up cutting some of them down to sort of around 30 to 33 mil, depending on where they are. I think he was about 30, he was about 31. One at the bottom there was 33. But that's all of those bolts in. Sorry, camera's not focusing, and I struggle because I've got lights in awkward places. So there's those 4 in there, like I say, the nice socket cap ones as well, so it's much easier to do up and undo because it fits through there easier than those bigger sockets. So that's all of those back in. The ABS sensor line's back in there now, brake lines are all back in, we don't need to take any of that out. So that is now that side done. So spins freely, brake pads scratched ever so slightly, but yeah, all back on there, nice spinning freely, and we now have our nice plates in there. So all we've got to do is get the wheel back on this side, and then we're going to crack on with the other side. Okay, so going to the other side now, so it's just back again to doing those 13mm bolts and getting those off first, so let's crack on with that bit. Okay, so that's this side done. So you can see the 4 new bolts in there. So that is that on there, like you say, nice spaced out at the bottom there. So that is both of them on now. So it's just getting the wheels on. Like I say, all this was tight now. Like I said, I don't think it's necessary to remove all of that. You might make it ever so slightly easier if you're moving this line out of the way. But you know, your handbrake and things like that, you know, you could move them a little bit, but I really don't think it's necessary. We could get our tools through here, through the spring and through these gaps, to sort of get this done, and it saves sort of stripping all this down, etc., and getting all of these off and taking all that apart. So made it nice and easy. All the bolts are through nicely in there. Like I say, 12.9 high tensile ones, so plenty strong enough for what we need on this. So yeah, let's get the wheels on and see what it looks like. Hey everyone, so it's actually been a couple of weeks since I installed this Shims. I wanted to drive home and then do a review when I got back, but I thought that's not really enough time to let me get used to them. You know, I really want to do a good in-depth review of actually driving with these. It's a daily car, so I might as well get a very good daily input. Unfortunately, I waited a few days and I came down quite ill, and it's obviously really affected, you know, my upload times, etc. So I do apologise, that's why I haven't been uploading much recently. It's been very sort of sporadic, wasn't able to drive a lot, etc. So back on it now, back in the car, been driving it again for a little bit. So I'm doing my bit of a review, and yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I say, 1 degree was the highest you can go with these, and I think that's perfect, especially for a daily driver. I have seen on some forums people do go up above 2 degrees. Obviously I only did the 1. I think that's more than ample for a daily driver. Unfortunately, I couldn't get them on before the track time at Castle Combe, but I do have the track day at Landau coming up soon on the 1st of June. So that's going to be sort of the first full review of driving it on circuit with the shims on there. But in terms of a daily driver, it's perfect. You know, you do notice a bit of difference straight away. It feels a bit more active, I suppose, at the rear, much more responsive. You do notice if there's sort of divots and bumps in the road, you're sort of being pulled into them, and it's very tight on the road now. So that's quite nice, you know, if you go around corners. I mean, you know, I'm not really the kind of driver to go crazy on the roads, etc. But you do definitely notice it, especially like little things like roundabouts. You've got quite a few big open roundabouts around where I am. Just going them at normal speeds even, you do just feel a bit more planted than before. The back of those Fiestas does seem to feel quite loose, especially as standard. And just all the little improvements I'm making over time, you just sort of really does feel like it's sort of tightening everything up. And this is definitely one of the biggest steps in that. you know, it was an almost immediate feel when you start driving the car. You just knew straight away that there was a difference there. Um, in terms of things like tyres, I've noticed a bit of extra wear on the inside of the tyre, but again, I don't do excessive mileage. I think I do about 6,000 a year, so I don't do excessive mileage, so I'm not overtly concerned about that. And I tend to buy new tyres once a year anyway, or every 18 months anyway. So I don't think that's going to be a massive issue going forward. If you were doing sort of 10, 15,000 miles a year, constantly up and down the motorway and really pushing the car hard all the time, you might notice that you're obviously getting excessive wear on the inside, and you might have to replace it a bit more often. But again, I don't think you'd be buying the Shims if you were too concerned about that. So yeah, overall, really, really impressed. Incredibly good quality, real nice bits of steel. Like I say, unfortunately, we did have to cut the little notch out of them, but they've been on for just about a month now, and I've really noticed no difference in them. You know, they haven't slid or moved around at all. Obviously, we had those high tensile bolts through it. I specifically got those 12.9 bolts, and they're holding it in firm. There's been no movement. There's been no play. And they hold extremely well. You know, it's been very impressed. So huge thank you goes out to Satchell Engineering for obviously sponsoring this video and getting those shims out to me. Go check them out. I'll put their link down in the description so you can find those plates. They do other bits and pieces for the Fiestas as well as other cars. So if you've got another vehicle that you do use, might as well check them out. And then I think they can do bespoke bits as well. So it's worth dropping them an email if you've got anything you need doing for your car. So yeah, huge thank you to them for sending those out, and hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry I've waffled on a little bit, and I'll see you on the next one.